Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani.
Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Yeah!
We are the full package.
Oh yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Third day, third moment, and third date of the month of July 2024. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Lo. Today on the program, I'll be talking about standing on guard. So we have seen a lot happening across the country, but in as much as that is happening, what is the Kenya's position internationally speaking? What is the whole of this thing happening in the country, the civil unrest that is we are experiencing for the third week now? What is the Kenya's position internationally speaking? Remember, Kenya is a non-NATO ally, which was, a new outfit that President William Ruto was given just not so long ago when he visited the United States of America. So we want us to take a look at that. What is our image internationally, and how important, the keyword, how important is this in as far as our democracy and international relations is concerned? I'll be joined by Wakili George Kithi, who's an advocate of the High Court, also Wilson Sosion, who is a former NAT Secretary General. I'll also be joined by Honorable Alan Sila, who is a governance and political expert, as well as Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is also a leadership and governance expert. That is a conversation that will be coming at us exactly 7 a.m. Why don't you stay with me? But before then, Vivian, good morning.
Good morning, Victor. It's a chilly Wednesday. Good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the program. This is Good Morning Kenya, and we are coming to you live from the Broadcasting House. My name is Vivian Degwa, and you are in the right place. As Victor has mentioned, he'll be having that conversation at exactly 7 a.m. And we'll also have a lot more that is lined up just for you, so you definitely do not want to touch that dial. Welcome. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Well, indeed, I always say this is the gold standard of starting your morning here, right here on Good Morning Kenya. Welcome to the program. My name is Mike Megu, and remember, you can talk to us on our social media platforms. We are at KBC Channel 1 on Instagram, Twitter, that is now X, and also on Facebook. Let me give you a quote for today. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but today is a gift. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but today is a gift. Good morning, Ray.
Well, good morning. So much to ponder about as a Kenyan, and I'm just looking at a Gazette notice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that indeed confirms that, MPs, MCAs, executive, all of them are expected to get a pay rise effective 1st of July. And just to give you a quote is that the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate will see their salaries shoot from 1.18 million shillings to 1.2 million shillings, while the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate counterpart will see their salaries rise from 940,000 to 960,000. This we're talking is per month. Now, members of County Assembly will witness a rise from earning 144,375 shillings monthly to 166,588. This comes at a time when Kenyans have been asked to brace for tougher times as the prices of cooking oil, soap, cosmetics, fuel have been on the rise. I don't know what you think about that, but we are open for your feedback. So, Mike, when he asks if I'm having a good morning, I can only say I'm having a good morning because I'm alive and I have my health. But then when you look at the state of the economy right now, I'm not too sure we're doing so well. And I have 3-4 pertinent questions to your panel, Victor, and allow me to share at this point. In regard to matters of governance, the President has already pronounced himself when it comes to matters of austerity measures. Are we ready to put action into the promises that we have been given on austerity measures in as far as budget cuts, given now that we have this particular wage bill that is set to balloon if this particular Gazette notice indeed is implemented as is? It has already been gazetted, by the way, to take effect the 1st of July. Secondly, with the current state of unrest, protests, call them as may be, what options does the government have? There's a lot of speculation, so I'd want to understand from a layman point of view, what would warrant the declaration of a state of emergency? The last time that happens, the first time was in 1952 by Sir Evelyn Baring during the colonial time, 1982 during the failed coup d'etat. Is there something like that in the offing? What options from a governance and law perspective you're going to be having that panel? And last but not least, the last time we also had a curfew, national-wide curfew, was during the COVID-19 pandemic, and this was to stem the spread of COVID-19, the virus done. So with this kind of unrest, businesses being shut down, Kenyans having this uncertainty around investments and how they can get to work, if indeed they're safe, does that then warrant for that? What options does the government have going forward? And last but not least, as we call for dialogue, what platforms should the executive explore? Those are my 4 questions to your panel. You can also send your questions to Victor ahead of that particular conversation that is going to be coming up in the course of this particular broadcast. And more or less, we also will be checking your feedback on our social media platforms. Our official handle on X is at KBC Channel 1. Now let's bring you up to speed with what has been happening in the last 12 hours. We start off with protests along Waiyaki Way in Kangemi that turned violent as protesters engaged police in running battles, barricaded roads, and engaged in acts of vandalism and destruction of property. Police were forced to lob tear gas canisters and deploy water cannons to quell protesters who were pelting cars with stones, paralyzing transport services into and out of the city centre. Abdiaziz Hashim was there. Here's the report.
Tuesday morning along Waiyaki Way in Kangemi, Nairobi. What were to be peaceful protests will quickly degenerate into acts of lawlessness. And for close to 6 hours, this were the scenes. Police officers on one side and the protesters on the other. The protesters pelted stones at the police. This prompted the police to lob tear gas canisters to disperse the demonstrators. At some point, the protesters lit bonfires and barricaded the roads, paralyzing transport. the black smoke from the lit tires visible from far. The crowds will then surge below the flyover, where they blocked the road with stones. This forced the public service vehicles, personal cars and motorcycle riders to retreat for their safety, hindering free flow of traffic. The police called in reinforcements after they ran out of tear gas as the protesters attempted to push through the march to town. The police called in reinforcements after they ran out of tear gas canisters as the protesters attempted to push through to march to town. Four water cannons pushed back the protesters past the flyover to protect supermarkets, businesses and offices along the road. This as several people were injured, including officers and journalists. The police officers have stated that they will stay around the Kangemi area to ascertain security for the better part of this evening.
On social media, you must have seen that clip by Abdiaziz where he is, tasting some bit of tear gas there. Well, we can say, when you, on a very light note though, when you apply for a job, there's that clause, you can work under pressure, right? Well, now Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has warned against politicizing crime, even as he faulted organizers of Tuesday's protest for unleashing an orgy of violence witnessed in the parts of Nairobi and Mombasa. Kindiki said the government is determined to protect the citizens against a reign of terror and impunity of dangerous criminal gangs, warning against anarchy.
Nairobi's central business district. Majority of shops remain closed early morning with little activity in the city center. This would change mid-morning as demonstrators began trooping into the city amid heavy anti-riot police deployment. The protesters would soon turn chaotic along Moi Avenue and Tomboya Street. The Nairobi business community has decried that goons who infiltrated the protests are targeting to loot their businesses. The business community, dressed in orange reflector jackets, worked with police officers to man their businesses.
Leo tujichugia biashara zetu kwa maana last time tuliona maadhiriko. Kwanza kuna duka ya rafiki yangu niweza container time ikivujwa. So tushajua na tushagundua wale watu wanakuja kwa hii maandamano si wote ambao wamekuja kuandamana kwa amani. Kuna wengine wamekuja na nia ya kupora mali ya watu.
Tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba tutaweka ulinzi vikakazivu tuweze kutunza hii area. Si tuko hii area mental house, tutahakikisha kwamba hakuna ukola ama uhalifu yoyote itaendelea.
Tunataka kusurround duka zetu hapa, ndio maana unatuona watu wenye wako na reflector hapa tunazunguka. Hao wote ni wanabiashara wenye wako na maduka hapa, ndio maana tuna surround hizo maduka, ndio maana tusiweze kuibiwa kwa hizo maduka.
Attempts by goons who had infiltrated the protest to enter into one of the buildings was thwarted. This as government critical installations remain highly guarded. On the other side of town, anti-riot police officers manned all entries leading to parliament buildings. The perimeter wall that was breached last week has since been reconstructed. Security was also tight at the Supreme Court buildings and City Hall, where distractions occurred last week. Kenyatta International Convention Center also remained closed for members of the public, and only staff members were allowed access. This comes as Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki released a statement warning the organizers, planning to repeat the anarchy, chaos and cruel plunder on Thursday and Sunday, that the reign of terror against citizens and impunity of dangerous criminals must end at whatever cost. He warned the government will stop criminals from terrorizing the public. notwithstanding attempts to politicize crime.
Now, this comes amid numerous claims by business owners as well as Kenyans and a section of leaders that yesterday's protests indeed were infiltrated by hired goons. We'll be keeping tabs on that and the direction that government is going to be taking going forward. Now, at least 30 people were rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment after they were injured during the Tuesday protests in different parts of the Nairobi city. Those with minor injuries were treated and discharged. This even as authorities blocked all roads leading to State House.
Tuesday's protest in Nairobi saw several protesters injured. The Kenyatta National Hospital received over 30 injured persons brought in by ambulances. Some had minor injuries and could manage to walk by themselves with little help from the standby medics at the accident and emergency unit. Others, however, needed to be ferried to the facility with serious injuries. And as the protest continued in Nairobi's central business district, roads leading to the State House remained closed, with officers standing guard to ensure no unauthorized persons or vehicles access the area.
So behind me is a processional way where, as you can see, from the time that we got here in the morning up until now, security remains tight where no unauthorized person or vehicle is allowed to access this road that leads all the way to State House.
Similar precautions are replicated on all roads leading into or near the State House.
The Orange Democratic Movement Party, ODM, has initiated the process of recalling 6 lawmakers who voted for the Anti-Finance Bill 2024. ODM Secretary General and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who called the 6 legislators repeat offenders, said the party was forced to decide on their constant pattern of defying the party's political stance. The MPs are Alicia Othiambo of Gem constituency, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, Emmanuel Wangwe of Navaholo, Bernard Shinali of Ikolomani, Karoli Omondi of Suba South, and Elijah Memusi of Kajiado Central. Timothy Kipnusu with the details.
The recent voting by members of the National Assembly on the Finance Bill 2024, which has since been withdrawn, has left 6 ODM legislators on the chopping board. The 6 legislators voted for the bill against the party's advice. The ODM, which held its Central Management Committee meeting today and chaired by its leader Raila Odinga, said it has begun the recalling process of the 6 for not towing the party's line.
ODM shall initiate and lead recall processes in the following constituencies in light of the current office holders' repeated violation of their sacred oath and the wishes of their electorate.
The 6 include Elisha Odhiambo of Gem constituency, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, Emmanuel Wango of Navaholo, Bernard Shinali of Ikolomani constituency, Carol Omondi of Suba South, and Elijah Memusi of Kajiado Central. The party said the decision will serve as a lesson to the rest.
This is the criteria we have applied, Luke, and we want to be able to focus on these 6 as a lesson to all the others. The criteria was very simple. In our statement, we have said repeat offenders. Those who voted against the wishes of the people in 2023 and again did it in 2024 because there are a few who made their Damascus moments this year.
To initiate the recalling of an MP, a voter from the said constituency must file a petition with the IEBC with at least 30% of signatures of voters in the constituency, among other requirements. At the same time, the leaders called for the government to release all detainees who were arrested during the protests.
The president must publicly direct his security organs to forthwith cease the ongoing abductions, an exercise that we believe is being undertaken with his full approval and the approval of the state. He must account for and order the release of all detainees abducted by these security agencies.
Now, from politics, let's have a sneak peek of what has been happening in the business world, where the East African Community has extended a year the zero-rated quota of importation of sugar, yellow maize and rice to Kenya.
The East African Community has moved to harmonize the common external tariff by adopting 35% as a 4th top band rate. Goods covered by this rate include textiles and garments, cotton, leather products, and iron sheets, furniture, meat and dairy products, paint, ceramic products, and headgear. In a Gazette notice under the EAC CET 2024-2025, Kenya has been allowed to continue charging import duty on rice at 35% instead of the EAC rate of 75% for another 1 year. Wheat will attract a 10% import duty instead of the EAC 35%, while iron and iron steel products will be taxed at 35% instead of the EAC's common rate of 25%. Animal feeds will remain duty-free in a move expected to enable importers to increase their quotas. Kenya has also been granted duty remission on import of assembly items for mobile phones, smartphones, and laptops, a move expected to support local manufacturing and assembly of the gadgets. Kenya will further apply a higher import duty of 35% on apparel and clothing industry imports instead of the EAC common rate of 25%, a move aimed at supporting Kenya's textile and apparel sector. However, baby diapers have been lined up for increased taxation as Kenya, alongside other EAC members, made a decision to apply a duty rate of 35% for 1 year and not the previous 25%.
Kenya Tea Development Agency has announced zonal and national director elections that will be held on the 26th of this month as the agency wraps up its nationwide elections. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi says apart from Theta Tea Factory, whose elections were stopped by court order, all other KTDA factories held their grassroots elections.
Kenya Tea Development Agency will have new directors this month after the agency completed its grassroots elections. The elections that were the first to be conducted through a secret ballot by the IEBC attracted slightly over 328,000 small-scale tea farmers, representing a 52% turnout.
Following the successful elections, the directors-elect will be presented in the Farmers' Special General Meeting for adoption of bona fide directors by the farmers in accordance with the Articles of Association of the Tea Factory Companies.
Linturi says the IEBC will still conduct the 26th KTDA directorship elections after the High Court ordered the tea agency to outsource independent firms to carry out the elections.
Elections mark an important milestone in the Kenya tea industry reform journey, whose desired end is to inculcate good corporate governance, transparency, and accountability in all the value chain actors, especially the farmers.
This comes as the tea agency refuted claims that it holds 200 million kilos of unsold tea at its warehouses, distorting tea prices. KTDA says that it can account for all its tea at the warehouses and none has expired, confirming it will not destroy any tea in its possession. A section of tea buyers have been calling for the abolishment of the $2.43 minimum price, calling for market forces to dictate pricing in a bid to make Kenyan tea competitive.
Financial audit firm Ernst & Young Kenya has been sanctioned by the World Bank for 2.5 years for failing to disclose conflict of interest and engaging in fraud and corrupt practices. The debarment is in connection with the sanctionable practices as part of the Somali Core Economic Institutions and Opportunities Program SCORE and the second Public Finance Management Capacity Strengthening Project PFM second in Somalia following the investigations by the Washington-based lender.
Ernst & Young is the latest Kenyan firm to be blacklisted by the World Bank on any projects being financed by the bank. This is as the audit firm was found in breach of the bank's code of conduct relating to the Somali Core Economic Institutions and Opportunities Program SCORE and the second Public Financial Management Capacity Strengthening Project PFM2. The multi-billion shillings project was designed to help create an enabling environment for private and financial sector development and to catalyze private investments and job creation. PFM2, on the other hand, was designed to strengthen systems of domestic revenue mobilization, expenditure control, and accountability in the federal government of Somalia, Puntland State of Somalia, and Somaliland State. According to the case brought against the firm, Ernst & Young Kenya failed to disclose a conflict of interest during the selection and implementation of 4 contracts under the SCORE and PFM2 projects and the involvement of an agent in those contracts said the lender in a statement. As a result, Ernst & Young Kenya's reputation stands dented, as potential clients or even partners may keep off for fear of association with a tainted firm. This is likely to lead to a loss of business opportunities and a decrease in competitive edge in the market. The company has since also committed to continue to fully cooperate with the World Bank Integrity Vice Presidency if it is to get out of the blacklist before the end of the 30 months.
Now that report gets us to sports, where the national under-20 soccer team, Emerging Stars, have boosted their chance of qualifying for the quarterfinals of the ongoing COSAFA Cup after beating Zimbabwe 2-0 in their final Group B match played at the Isaac Wolfson Stadium in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. The 2 goals were netted by Gor Mahia's midfielder Austin Othiembo in the 54th minute and striker Bunsen Omala in the 73rd minute. The Kenyan team now lies second in Group B with 6 points behind group winners Comoros, who beat Zambia 1-0 in other Group B encounters. The Kenyan boys will qualify for the semi-finals only if they are ranked as the best second-placed team in the competition. So today, Namibia will play Seychelles, while Angola take on Lesotho in the final group matches. Both Angola and Namibia are on 4 points. The semi-finals will be played this Friday, while the third-place playoff and the final match will be held on Sunday. The Kenyan team was invited to take part in the event to replace Malawi, who withdrew from the competition.
Ross Austin Atieno! Goal to Kenya! Just like last Thursday, they are in the mood for another shake-up, another surprise. And that is the first goal that Zimbabwe have conceded in the 23rd edition of the
The national under-20 rugby 15-a-side team started their campaign at the World Under-20 Trophy Tour on a sour note, losing 25-7 to Uruguay in their Hive Stadium, Edinburgh, Scotland. Now Mike Momalo netted a try for the Kenyan team in the 57th minute before James Olela added 2 points by conversion in the 67th minute. The Kenyan team will face the Netherlands in their next encounter on Sunday this week. And in another match, Japan thrashed Hong Kong, China by a massive 105-20 in the opening match of the tournament. The event has attracted 8 teams divided into 2 pools, A and B. Each team will play the 3 pool matches with the winners in each pool qualifying for the final on the 17th of July. The winning team will earn a promotion to the World Rugby Under-20 Championship in 2024. The teams finishing 2nd, 3rd and 4th in each pool will meet on the same day to determine the final rankings from 3rd to 8th.
Outside centre, Mike Wamalwa. In among the forwards. Kenya keeping things tight for now.
Tackle!
That officially puts a cap into Matters News this morning. Be sure to visit our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. Now we get to the thick of things with Victor Olo as we put matters of governance and the current political state that we find ourselves as Kenya into perspective in this particular interview. You're welcome to give your feedback on X at KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a pleasant viewing ahead.
Why not? You don't know. Maybe you live in another planet. For Christ's sake, when will you break free from this maids and beliefs? Maybe she never will. Atito, what are you trying to prove?
Prove where? I have nothing to prove to you, mushroom head. Will someone fill us in?
You mean Hatat, eh? Right? Then why are you playing it? You think you are stupid?
Put your body self out of this. You have no idea what I'm speaking about. Sat it, you two guavas. I'm trying to concentrate here.
Hey, Kinyanjui, let the dude speak.
Oh, you want him to speak, eh? You want him to speak? He will not speak.
Mimi nina swali moja. Kuna siri gani kati ya familia mzee Dalu na Bikomo? Na kama ipo, kwa nini mmeficha?
Mwanamume ni ule naye nyumbani kwako Swahiba. Mchumba huangukia popote.
Usipoteze muda wako.
Tayari muda wangu ushapotea bwana. Wewe niambie hata kama nifanye nini?
Hujui ama ushasahau? Sitaki kusemwa basi.
Sasa kakusema nani tena mke wangu?
Sio waniambia naitwa tasa kwa sababu sizai.
Hapo umevuka mpaka. Maneno gani hayo?
Hata boda nitavuka, kwa nini siri?
You have and improve on it. Woo now, use what you have and do it.
Las Bandidas. No, don't cry, Eugenia. Your son is alive. Alvaro didn't die. And he's so much closer than you imagine. And soon you'll be together again, I promise you that. Just why do you worry so much about me, huh?
I was a good friend of your mother's. And your age is about the age of my son. If I had a son.
Amparo, that it's better to just file a divorce case.
Las Bandidas.
I never heard the music so sweet. I repeat.
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth reggae vibes in your favorite station. You know these things, man.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip-hop and R&B jams.
We don't got no label. She say she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cold,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunyongwa. Hadija ai, money especially ukisonga.
All right, I'm so sure right now you already know that when you hear that tune, that signifies that we're already on. And today being Wednesday, the 3rd day of July 2024, today being Wednesday, it's The Viewpoint. And today I want us to take a look at what is really happening across the country, but to scale it a bit further and look at ourselves internationally speaking. We have the protests happening across the country for the 3rd week now, but what does that really mean for Kenya? We are a member of different bodies internationally, but how important, the keyword, how important are these protests that we are experiencing? On set, I have Judge Kithi, who is an advocate of the High Court. Joining me on set, I have got Wilson Sosion, who is a former NAT SecGen and also former nominated member of parliament. He's also a CS. But I didn't see his name on the pay rise, and I say that with confidence. Why?
I am not on the payroll.
But you're a CS?
I am not on the payroll.
You'll tell us why. Honorable Alan Sila Kithome, who is a governance and a political expert, welcome to the program, as well as Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is also leadership and governance expert. Gentlemen, asante sana for coming.
Thank you.
None of you is a Gen Z.
At heart, yes.
I see what you mean there.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Does that apply to all of you?
But in terms of age, we fall to the different categories. I'm Gen X myself. I'm a proud Gen X.
Kithome, are you a Gen Z at heart?
At heart, yes. I am millennial there.
Yes.
Yes, so you can be sure. And we're invited, so looks like we are part of this.
So you're part and parcel of Gen Z?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you are part of Gen Z.
I associate myself
at heart.
I associate myself with their cause, and I understand what they are going through.
Right.
And at heart, definitely, we are together with the Gen Z.
Yes.
Yes.
It has never happened in our country. And I believe all of you are also learning something out of it. Perhaps in the coming days or in future, we'll have a story to tell. Perhaps the future generation or even what will be happening in the coming days. Gentlemen, let me take you through the front page of the local dailies. Pretty fast. 6 on police radar over youth demos. That is what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. 6 on police radar over youth demonstration. We had that yesterday, and now there's some sort of shutdown where schools, courts, and businesses remain closed as foreign envoys warn their citizens. Now, this is in line with what you're going to be discussing today. Remember, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi also called on the international community to stand with Kenya at this particular point. Their sponsors, detectives have listed 6 prominent politicians, 2 NGOs, and a businessman as being behind the wave of violent demonstrations across the country. This even as the anti-tax protests entered the 3rd week and morphed from mostly peaceful processions to deadly confrontations, laced with vandalism and theft of goods and property. We'll be taking a look at that. MPs, CSS get a pay rise amid tax pain. Again, that is what is here. I wish I took you through this, but a quick one. The Prime Cabinet Secretaries, Attorney General, Head of Public Service, and Secretary to the Cabinet will pocket 990,000 shillings from 957,000 shillings. Governors will get 990,000 shillings from 957. MPs and senators will pocket 739,000 shillings from 725,502. MCAs will now pocket 164,588, up from 154,481. That is just but a cross-section. You can take a look at that story. On the inner pages is just pictorial of what really happened yesterday. But gentlemen, what we saw yesterday is not, so to speak, Gen Z-like. But before that, Wakili, what do you make of that headline? And then you connect it. We saw over 20 coffins being dropped in the CBD. I mean, was that Gen Z-like?
Well, I do think that at the very inception of these protests, there was good faith. The good faith in terms of the cause that the protesters and the demonstrators had engineered. It was a path that was well taken. And I think the consistency and the persistence of the demonstrators yielded on account of the fact that the government yielded ground. And what was then the confrontation then was the finance bill that had not been signed into law, and the same was returned back to Parliament, being the constant that we have now. But then immediately after that cause was determined in the manner that it was, there seems to be grievances that now were the outliers at the time, that have now taken, have folded into the main cause as to governance issues. Those then seem to have mutated away from the protagonists, the prime movers of the protagonism there, the Gen Zs, into another category of who will be dissatisfied members of society. And I think that then is the advent of the reorganization and funders from the politicians, businessmen, and all those that will have other different grievances other than the first cause. Meaning, therefore, they patch over basically the movement as well, the Gen Z movement, and take advantage of that. They obviously may have good reasons for that were not the clarion call surrounding the budget issue, the finance bill issue. They may have their own political differences or issues that were probably bottled at the time that we want to settle now. But the means upon which they are using, and definitely these are not the Gen Z movement, is that they've gone back to the normal culture of demonstrations that we've experienced over time in this country. Being that you demonstrate, but with a disruptive environment, as will be to injure, hurt, maim, otherwise basically destroy property. And that is basically what we've seen, including immediately after elections this time round. So that culture of demonstration being a culture associated with other generations, other than the Gen Zs, is what we are now experiencing. And I do think, therefore, it is right to say that there has been infiltration and there's an attempt to take over the cause of the Gen Zs for other political reasons.
Should the government be worried about the infiltration? Because what we are seeing, Wakili, you've correctly put it, thank you for that, but then should the government be worried about the infiltration?
Extremely,
and how will it affect the initial plan of the Gen Z strike or protest?
Yeah, the government is extremely worried because the responsibility of protecting property and protecting lives is a mandate of government, and lives have been threatened, lives have been lost, property is being destroyed, there's wanton violence and destruction everywhere, the way we see. So they've grown out of the normal demonstrations that are envisaged in the Constitution, Article 37, into violence. Looking at the headlines, the detectives zeroed down to 6 politicians being responsible for sponsoring and individuals who have infiltrated this demonstration. And you see, when you talk of the demonstrations of Gen Zs being infiltrated, it's something that we cannot wish away. It's something that we need to empirically examine and flag out and allow the detectives to do their work and get to the bottom of it. The initial intention, which government has not been and is never opposed to, peaceful demonstrations, has been overtaken by violence. And we saw last week breaking of the perimeter fence of Parliament, invading the presence of Parliament, something that has never happened before, burning of property inside Parliament, and vandalizing of property inside Parliament, including vandalizing even equipment at the media center. And you know those equipment are so expensive. So really, was that really the objective of Gen Zs, to engage in destruction? Gen Zs simply intended to communicate a message. But criminals, individuals, hijack the process and engage in vandalism and violence. Burning of the City Hall and the burning of the office of the Chief Justice. I don't think anybody said would really say, yes, that is right, it's not what was expected. Any demonstrations should be peaceful. And the message, and demonstrators will always try to ensure that the message they are communicating comes out clearly in a peaceful manner and in a convincing way, which of course the message of the Gen Zs has been picked clearly by the president. And the president took a bold decision to refer the bill back to Parliament with recommendation of deletion of all the clauses and with a commitment of developing a national dialogue framework, a national conversation on the economy, and with a commitment to engage the Gen Zs deeply and extensively. And that I know the president and government is working on frameworks to to engage the Gen Zs exclusively themselves. But we have seen opportunists, political opportunists, even in those X spaces, masquerading to get into the space of and to organize the Gen Zs. And we know these are political individuals. We know them by name, and they're pushing their own agenda. And those sponsoring the event, you look at the coffins. Somebody must have gone to buy.
How much is a coffin?
Coffin.
I mean, it's expensive.
It's expensive.
We've all been in these spaces.
Yeah, the Gen Zs cannot buy coffins.
I don't think to get 20
we did not see the Gen Zs in that space.
In a lorry and all that.
Organizing to buy coffins.
Yeah.
But we know coffins. Those coffins were bought by the sponsors. There are those political individuals who have personal issues with the government. So they've been infiltrated this process to try and heighten it and to try and demonize the person of the president,
yes.
Which I think is wrong. Here, we should have stuck to issues. And you see, at the end of the day, as outlined in Vision 2030, we should sanitize our politics so that they are issue-based. And that is what the Gen Zs have been pushing. So really, we must draw now a dichotomy between issues that have been raised by Gen Zs that are genuine and that needs to be addressed by government, and it is being addressed expeditiously by the president and criminal activities related with this.
Thank you. I hear you. But Honorable Alan, let me ask you, even when the president spoke over the weekend, and now we are seeing an upsurge of what is called to be perceived to be goons, alleged goons who are now coming out, and I'm also going to read a statement which was put out there by Kithure Kindiki, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. He also sent a message and gave a statement to that. How much should the Gen Z be worried?
First thing first, condolences to the families that lost their loved ones. I pray they will be okay. Now, first thing first, and I want to start from where these things are starting from. Now, when we went to campaign last year, you know,
last year but one.
Last year but one. Right. The government, I mean, by then, the KK went across the country, in all regions, taking views from the citizen on what citizen would want the government to do. And, well, everybody gave their views, and they were looking at the Nyanza region, they were looking at Eastern region, and other regions. And they put these things together to come up with the manifesto and the agenda that they're going to lead the government. Now, you know, there were good things and sweet things in the manifesto. But when the government sat on the table, what they found, things were not like that. First, there was dollar issues. We had no dollar in the country. There was forex issues. You know, there was subsidy that they believed were wrong. And many more issues that were coming there. And then there were, you know, the coffers, there were nothing. Yeah. So I think somewhere down the line, things were not matching the agenda and the speed in which they wanted to deliver to the citizen. And now they started, you know, doing other things. So one thing which was lacking from onset was the communication. I think there has been an issue, you know, this is supposed to be bottom-up communication, and there's been an issue. The citizens are far from the government. Looks like that communication has not come to the citizen. Now, you see, the pressure is boiling on the citizen. People are having troubles. We don't have food. Actually, mostly Kenyans today, like, we are living on debts. You have to borrow to buy food. So, coming to your point is, when the finance bill came, many people in Kenya did not understand what was there. What is this thing we are calling, you know, housing levy? Is it a levy? Is it a saving? Is it what? So, and at that point, you see, the generation which is there is looking at this differently. The government is saying, yes, we are creating jobs. We want the, you know, electricians to go and build. We are building houses. We want you to go and, you know, masonry and all this. But the Gen Z are looking at it differently. They want to be in the, you know, internet space. They want to be in the entertainment space. But the government is talking, it's not in tandem in what they're looking at. And now, when Gen Z, the first demo was okay. You could see The guys were just walking out with water. There was nothing. But later, other people have come in because of the pressure, stress around there. People don't have anything to eat. So most of them, yes, there are people came in, through pressure from other people, as Mheshimiwa said. But what I'm thinking is, at this level, looks like now the demonstration do not belong to Gen Z anymore. The other people have come. And this is something that the government should be worried. Even the Gen Z themselves, they should be worried because they don't know what will happen in future. Is the time for us to stop? I don't know.
Let's call a spade, engineer. Because you wouldn't expect Gen Zs to organize themselves because they are online. And if at all they were organizing certain kind of approach to their demonstration, I'm so sure we would have all seen it, that they were organizing to bring coffins, organizing to go, looting and all that. When we were covering the first demonstration, the Gen Z were actually policing themselves. That if you are caught snatching a phone, there was an instant justice because that was the general agreement from them. We are going to demonstrate and they are following the law. But what we've seen, it's not the way it is. Question. So what should the government do? When the president spoke about it over the weekend during the Roundtable media interview, he spoke about it. Yesterday, CS Kithure Kindiki also gave a report on that, and he said that the police is now working on that. My question to you, what should the Gen Z do now? Because for them, they're still adamant they will continue their demonstration.
It's important that we look at the issues at hand. And here, is it a country we want to destroy, pursuing a small number of criminals who have infiltrated a just cause? Because the just cause is no longer a Gen Z agenda alone. It is an agenda that is now in the hearts of many Kenyans. Because when it comes to issues of accountability, paying taxes, governance, it cuts across. It's just that the Gen Zs have been able to move it from an online agenda to a demonstration or a protest. But in the midst of all that, a small number of criminals or personal interests have captured that process and is trying to destroy it. And in the attempt by government to restore order, many innocent lives are being lost. Property continues to be destroyed. So the question is, who should blink first? Who should be the greater being in this conversation? Should the government give the Gen Zs and the whole country something to show that we as a government, we have listened, and going forward, we are doing the following. So they have called for dialogue. We have had dialogue before, even with the NADCO report and all that. We have had a lot of discussion in this country. So the issue of dialogue may not be something that the Gen Zs and those who are with this cause feel is enough for them. Probably they want something more. And I think, in my opinion, the William administration need to make some radical changes. For example, who failed in this issue? The proposals that were put in the finance bill, they came from the executive. They were presented to Parliament, who failed to scrutinize them. So the issue is the executive the right advisors to continue staying in office, to continue advising the government, the president? Should the president dissolve cabinet for the matter of showing that these advisors misled me and therefore I want to let them go as a sign that I've listened to you people and I'm ready to make some changes? Probably that will be a sign to show that I have listened to you. Probably also on your side, could you tone down on this issue so that we can have some sense of direction? Otherwise, if we all have this grandstanding of Kithure coming with statements every day, the government saying they are criminals, we are going to fight, we will never have this issue addressed. And as you said, there is a regional perspective to this matter, there is an international perspective to this matter, and we have to be considered. We have seen some improvement in terms of the economy. We cannot afford to lose the ball at this moment. This is a chance we need to make sure that we salvage the gains we have made over the last 2 years to be able to leapfrog the economy going forward. If we fail now, even our partners, our bilateral partners, our regional neighbors will lose confidence in us because every 2 years we'll be having this kind of problems. Last year we had chaos. This year we have chaos. Next year we might have chaos if we have another finance bill. So nobody can be able to trust Kenyans as a regional business partner going forward. So government has to consider, is it us or is it them who should give in at the
All right. Wakili, let me read part of the statement which was sent out by CS. It says that the unrest, legitimately initiated as the democratic expression of public disapproval of the Finance Bill 2024, led to the termination of the bill. And it continues to say that notwithstanding the termination of the bill, holders of marauding criminal gangs continue to pose grave danger to the public, riding on unannounced plans for peaceful protests to disturb public order, commit arson, obstruct public transport, and terrorize the people of Kenya with violence. Overall, the police continue to act professionally and with restraint in the management of extremely provocative situation. Finally, part of that, before I let you, he says that upon completion, security agents have been alert to intercept and thwart harm to the public. From this statement, what I'm reading is that the government is not trying to stop the Gen Z from protesting. But what government is now keen on is to thwart and to crush these marauding gangs who are now infiltrating on these protests. What do you think?
Well, you see, ordinarily in society, any society, the bad is dominant over the good.
Absolutely.
For instance, I think in the budget, in the finance bill, there are good things, many good things. But the clever way of putting one or two things that emotionally were provocative on the populace is what then determined the bill as it did. You didn't have to put hidden issues without explaining to the public. You didn't have to put the things that they did, which then were provocative to the public, especially the Gen Zs and the society. Number two, the reason why communication and the right to information is in the Constitution is exactly what you're experiencing. You have to decode yourself as a leader. You can't hide, no matter the intentions, however good they are. You have to explain yourself. The problem I see with this KK government, and that's the biggest problem it has, when it got in government, it was a know-it-all government. It didn't communicate itself and decode itself to the people. It didn't tie its cause with the cause of the people or explain to the people that the cause we are in is your cause. So there was a disconnect. It has for long not put a communicator for the public, for the president. When it put one, I think he stutters. He doesn't explain himself to the public with a connection or connecting the government to the public. Suffice it to say, therefore, that then whatever it does mutates into an interpretation, which I'm entitled to, which another person is entitled to. And therefore, if that interpretation coalesces into a national psyche, then there'll be a general national complaint over governance, over the intentions, and over the implementation of the manifesto. Probably even the manifesto is being implemented but phased, being that after completion of 5 years, they'll be able to take stock and say, we say this and we completed. But you must be able to explain yourself. And lastly, in government, on that issue, in government there'll be challenges. You put a manifesto that is good. But remember, and I've said this before here, that a manifesto is a social contract that has no enforcement mechanism whatsoever in law. So I can go to the High Court and say, my client, Sosion, says you said you're going to tarmac the road to his compound, but you haven't. So you have to tarmac it. You can do that. It's a manifesto is basically a debate on intentions. But then, you see, the problem is it is the basis upon which we elect you. You tell us there'll be electricity in every house, free education, there'll be no hunger within 6 months. When I put the Bible down, this happens. Suddenly, when you get in, there'll be challenges. Explain yourself. But I want to put it this way. The insertion of Article 1 in the Constitution was probably the magical thing we ever did as Kenyans. Because then we can go back to whoever we've put there, the crown, and ask, these are the things that you said you're going to do. Why haven't you done them? So we can have instant justice in terms of representing ourselves, because Article 1 basically is a friction article in terms of representative democracy. You see, representative democracy connotes that when we appoint people, when we elect people, they will be able to say what we want them to say. But when that voice has been overtaken, there's a dominant voice over it, especially the executive, on account of being the holder of the exchequer and the determiner of the exchequer. Then it means that the beholder of the executive, as we've seen now, when the people have complaints, especially the derivative being the government is not even communicating to the public, it seems to be communicating the representation. And therefore, eventually, it coalesces international side. It starts with the agencies. They had their own complaint, but on governance, which is a very good thing. We accepted it. You know, we say back home that a wound starts with a pimple.
Can I take a break?
Thank you.
Allow me. We'll be right back with more. I still have got two papers. That is the Standard and the Star newspaper. That is also the front page of these two papers. We'll be taking a look very quickly. But still, the discussion continues, and it's about to get hotter. Stay with me.
Je, unajua kwamba wizi wa maji ni uhalifu unaoathiri sisi sote? Hata hivyo, wateja wengi wa maji husalia kimya bila kufahamu madhara yake.
Small pieces so that it will be easy to blend.
Oh, we're going to blend the pineapples.
For it to get the juice.
Okay. So we'll give the chicken some time to brown, and then we'll turn to the others.
Wasreb, tunaadhimisha miaka 20 ya udhibiti wa huduma za maji.
What you have and improve on it. Who now, use what you have and do it.
Karibu sana, welcome back. And on the front page of the Standard, very quickly, keyword, one word, shutdown. That is what is there on the front page of the Standard newspaper here. Shutdown, that is what is there. And behind there is a thick of smoke billowing from the demonstrations. Business in major towns and cities came to a standstill yesterday after protesters took to the streets and blocked highways. The protest, however, degenerated into acts of looting and property destruction after thugs infiltrated the demonstrations across the country, causing massive losses. That is exactly what we've been discussing here. And by the way, the ODM party also gave a statement yesterday saying that Raila party, that's ODM, blamed state for protest deaths and OK's recall for MPs. That is what they're planning. On the front page of the Star, that is what you have. Violence, looting, shots. Violence, looting, shots. That is what is here. Interestingly and sadly enough, some vehicles were torched in Mombasa. And the first day of demonstrations here in the city or even across the country, we didn't see Gen Zs going for that. The painful one I saw was a man destroying a BMW, a brand new one, which had no number plate. I mean, that was uncalled for. Whichever way you look at it, that is uncalled for. All right. So allow me to ask you this question. Kithi, I'll give you 1 minute so that you finish your statement.
What I was explaining,
right,
and exactly what then you're alluding to in terms of the front page of those newspapers, was that I think the government had an opportunity to make the decision that it made much earlier than it did. So it allowed this public anger and the collective psyche to grow. And then when it did, it was so late because then the gravitation had already moved into this movement, which now we call the Gen Z movement.
Yes.
The Gen Z movement must not be isolated as Gen Z movement. It has the blessings of basically many Kenyans. Number two, it represents a lot of the issues that were being complained by Kenyans, but without the boldness to take action immediately. And lastly, that it is not going away because the complaint of Gen Zs is a constant of the problems that we have in this country. And therefore, what I believe should have been done is the action that was taken to remove, to do away with the finance bill should have been taken earlier. But that notwithstanding, again, isn't it the government that had the responsibility to placate its citizens for this, so that it avoids this confrontation? So look, there are two sides to a coin. Yeah, there are complaints by the public, by whichever side of the public or whichever part of the public is complaining. And we're experiencing what we're experiencing, which is not a good thing. But then there's a side to it. There must be a provocative issue to it, which has been explained here by my good friends here. But one important thing is, sometimes you don't have to tell a hungry person that you're not going to get food. It's just to continuously give the person hope. But you don't then communicate despair to a person who is hungry. He's going to loot your food, loot your shamba. The reason is, even in the circumstances we were in, the friends of government, those that are in government, continued to make communications that were provocative to the people and basically carry themselves in the public, whatever representation they had in the public, with this arrogance of importance around them, including those donations that have become very popular with us now, because that's what we associate the government with, and that is a marketing tool for the government. What do we want to see the government to be? It's not the president necessarily, but those people who seem to have the ear of the president.
I have a question for all of you. On the front page of the Star newspaper, this is what is here. Thugs infiltrate. The keyword is thugs. Thugs infiltrate peaceful demos, causing chaos in different towns. Again, when you listen to the statement from Kithure Kindiki, it's quite obvious, because now we can authenticate and we can say authoritatively that the government is saying that thugs have now infiltrated the demonstrations. So the question is, whoever is sponsoring the thugs to infiltrate the demonstrations, is it going to be beneficial, and to who? If not, what is the danger? Sosion.
Yeah, before I delve into that, I think I pick up from where Learned Council has left about government communicating its policies. And I would like to state that the president, the moment he was sworn in, he went into the workshop to fix the country. And he has been working endlessly, both locally and internationally. And we can see the results. You look at the economic survey of this year, it tells us many things. The economy is growing at least 5.4% of the GDP. is listed as one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The shilling against the dollar is stabilizing. That is no mean achievement to get the shilling to stabilize. It means a lot to the economy, both to the importers and exporters. The inflation has come down to 4.6%, down from 9%. The cost of living is coming down. The cost of fuel is coming down. And I think the president is focusing on what he promised Kenyans through the manifesto. And a manifesto is not a wish list. A manifesto is a framework on which you have voted to deliver on those particular ones. And the thing number one, the big area that the president has worked on is the agriculture sector, particularly subsidizing fertilizers and working on many programs within the sector. And now we can see, yes, fertilizers that was selling at 7,000 is down to 2,500, and ensuring that the cost of input comes down is a key thing for farmers.
But
and that right now, food availability is guaranteed. It's already sorted out.
How many tons do we harvest from Galana?
Allow me, you will have time.
Okay.
No, those are the programs. All these cannot be done in a day. And the next step that agriculture will be taken to is strengthening the aspect of manufacturing and value addition and processing. That's a key thing, because we can't export our agricultural goods as raw. We must value add. If we have to give farmers reasonable guaranteed minimum returns, the strengthening of micro, small, medium enterprises, the strengthening of ICT, the digital superhighway, and the intention of the president to ensure that in every ward there is a digital hub for the youth that they can engage with the entire world. I think that is no mean investment, and we have seen the president open global and domestic connection. We have seen the
reason why people
the digital savannah in concert, and even the virtual university, those are key indicators. The housing and
the reason why people are out
in all these,
I will have to ask you this.
In all these actions,
I must put my point across, Sosion.
Yes.
The reason why people are on the street is because their level of impatience so far. Whatever you are saying, the manifesto and what have you, we are almost 22 months down the line, and there are no.
But you see, a fact is, Victor,
right?
Rome was not built in a day. Most of this, what the president promised within the pillars and within the framework, and he has made a lot of attempts to deliver, and the indicators of that being delivered, including a stabilizing economy and an economy that is becoming globally competitive. I think that is one thing to appreciate. The Gen Zs have come out to express themselves, and so peacefully. Their intention was to do it peacefully. But the political opportunists who would like to see the government fail have infiltrated these activities. And the intention is to make sure that this government, in its 5 years life, does not deliver on its promises.
Let me ask you this, Ken. What if, because government can use any tactic, what if it's a government tactic? Allow me to ask this, and I'm also asking as a Kenyan, what if it's a government tactic?
No, there is nothing like a government tactic. It is not a government tactic. We have seen information of the DCI and naming specific individuals who are involved. So it is not a government tactic. And we have seen efforts. It was not government tactic to fight the finance bill.
I stand corrected.
It was not.
Maybe the question should have been...
And we are not new in this country. We have seen one side, the opposition working very hard to make sure the finance bill does not go through, and that the government does not implement the major flagship programs. And there have been court cases injuncting and stopping programs across the several pillars. And so we can see a vicious attack on key programs that are beneficial to the economy. And so this collective war of sabotaging the government by certain quarters who would not want to see the government, because if the government succeeds, and it will succeed in delivering the key pillars, then Kenyans will be satisfied, because there will be a time, the report card of 2027 of this administration is the implementation of manifesto. And once implemented, Kenyans will be convinced. And so those who would wish to see government fail have actually hijacked these demonstrations and they're sponsoring violence, and they're doing everything to make the government and the president look bad out of these activities. But I don't think that is going to succeed. Crimes are crimes, and we have a very sophisticated investigation system in this country. It will be flagged out, and Kenyans will see. And so the Gen Zs should now move out of the street and engage the president directly. And the president
give Alan time as well. Alan, you can pick it from there.
Yes.
To engage the Gen Zs in,
Alan, pick it from there.
in outlining what it intends.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Rome was not built in one day, but we need communication. When have they put the stones? What are they doing, the perimeter wall? The problem we have today is, number one, communication. Good, you have said good statistics about inflation, about growth. But you see, we are dealing with the hustler, Mama Mboga. Somebody somewhere very far in Kitui South, where I come from. They need to see food on their table. That's very key. And therefore, something I've been asked here, suppose it was the government, maybe, who did this. Well, the government don't want demonstration anyway. So maybe something can happen like that. And we really are in trouble. But I want to say one thing, and I agree with my brother here, that we need to be on the same table with this generation. The government needs to talk to the people of Kenya and tell them where we are. Number one, the government must learn to say sorry when they are on the wrong. Not sorry, but you know what? No. We need to tell the generation that we are sorry, something was a mess, and we want to bring you on the table. And I'm very happy that the president says, I'm ready to talk to the citizen, and especially the Generation Z. I would want to see, we are so many constituency in Kenya. I want to see all these young people brought together. They have a sitting, maybe a conference for 3 days with the president and with the officials, sat down and they discuss the things they want to be put in the running of the country. Number two, the president said that, the communication was wrong. We want to see some changes in the communication areas. He also said there is CS. He needs to remove these people, but I'm saying instead of them being removed, they are being added some salaries.
Well, he didn't mention CS in particular.
Oh, okay. I'm correct. I stand corrected. I stand correct. And then these are the things, and the people are not working. If you're not working, you need to be out. Allow other people to work. And we also want to see this Generation Z in the government. We want to see them as CS so that they can represent their people. And that's where the problem is.
But don't you think that will be narrowing it down to, because a majority of people, almost 4-point-something million people are jobless. So if you pick only one person to represent a slot in the cabinet, that would not serve my kinsmen in Homa Bay County or, Kithi's kinsmen down in the coast. Just one person in a cabinet. What the Gen Z are talking about is they want jobs and they want everything that is so inclusive to all of them. Well, let me just give also engineer to come in on this.
Unfortunately, where this discussion is going, we are losing focus on what was the main issue. The Gen Zs went to protest about the finance bill, about accountability. Today, now we are spending a lot of time discussing criminals in the riots. That is the work of the DCI. But at the heart of this protest are very critical issues that we should not lose focus on. Number one, we have been told that government is doing a lot. And we have heard from the president, from the CSS, everybody saying how we are doing Konza, we are doing roads, we are doing all those. And we appreciate things that are not done in one day. But there are certain things that we expected this government to do on day one. Number one is a culture of good manners, a culture of good behavior. We have seen this in this government, people close to the presidency behaving in a manner that suggests that they are corrupt, they are living in an opulent manner, they are not respectful to Kenyans, they are arrogant, and those are things we don't have to take 2 years to deal with. The president should have the courage to deal with ill-mannered friends and advisors close to him. The same way he has the courage to come to tell us.
Did you say friends?
Friends and advisors close to him who are ill-mannered. He should have the courage to let them go, so that the Gen Zs can also be told. Now we have done the following.
You have to elucidate that part of friends.
Now we have done the following. Can you also go slow on the issue of protesting? Because we are not giving these people anything. The issue of accountability. We have not seen any successful corruption case being prosecuted for the last 2 years. We have seen so many corruption cases being dropped, but none has been successfully done. We have not seen any conviction. We are still seeing people who, at the time when they were elected as member of parliament, they did not have even a small car. Today, they have a fleet of cars. A person who has been a member of parliament for the last 7 years has earned probably 84 million shillings. But when they go to destroy his assets, you hear he has lost 100 million shillings worth of assets. How did he get to 100 million worth of assets? Well, we know he has earned, after paying taxes, probably 50 million. Simple mathematics. So the issue of accountability is not there. We have advisors, if they are questioned by citizens, they are very arrogant. Those are not things that will take 2 years. These are things that you put your house in order. As the father of the house, you say, in my house, people behave this way. You communicate to people this way. You carry yourself this way. We go to do harambes in churches, splashing 20 million every week. If you took that 20 million to a trading center, it will have more economic output than building a church. So we need to start directing our money in areas where we have more.
On a lighter note, engineer, somebody said you contribute 20 million to a church which is going to be there for a whole 7 days.
We are saying, as we are waiting for the long-term issues to be delivered, we want impactful areas. The way we had the economic stimulus package for Kibaki, where we put a few billion somewhere, and on immediate basis, we saw results. We also want to see some quick, rapid result areas being impacted, so that Kenyans, as they wait for the long-term issues, we can see our economy improving. And as we are saying, the GDP is growing, the economy is growing. It is not carrying everybody.
Okay.
It is carrying a few.
Allow me to ask you this. Imagine you're sitting there in the advisory table with the president. What would you tell the president to do? Straight to the point.
One of the areas that he needs to tackle is the issue of corruption and accountability. He needs to make sure that his government and people are confident with the government that is zero tolerance to corruption and is fully accountable to the people.
I've not heard you talk about the friends. I want to change this topic very quickly because we'll be moving. I don't know why you ran away from that, but it's okay. I want us to move because Kitty is leaving for radio very shortly. But I want you also to get this point. We are enjoying a very good position internationally speaking. We have a very good name out there. And from what is happening, I want to ask you this question. How important is this protest to Kenya internationally? How important is it?
I don't think there's a good that doesn't have a bad side and a bad that doesn't have a good side. It depends on how you look at it. I personally appreciate, coming from a legal background training, and as a lawyer, that the right to picket it must be a constant to put to accountability those in officialdom. Secondly, I do think that that those that would have wanted to be in this space in Africa, that they would have wanted to pronounce themselves. There are countries in this Africa, in fact, some neighbors. If you pronounce yourself in the manner we are pronouncing ourselves here, or you demonstrate in the manner you are picketing out there, you will be non-existent. You will disappear. The reason is because of their background. We have expanded our democratic space such that we can have this debate. Young people, not even people with means, not people who can go out and defend themselves out there who have money. No, young people who have voiced themselves in a space that has been created over time. So this is very good. Most important is that this is a generation that is expected to be available until probably when it is less active, or probably will be 50 years to come. So we expect the country to be in the hands of this generation for the next 50 years and advancing the space that has already been created. So it is a very good platform upon which they're building on. But we also know that the good behavior, and we hope so, the good behavior is transmitted to the next generations. Of course, not the bad behavior. But we do think that they've done well for themselves. I mean, for Gen Zs, we should continue to encourage them to speak out against societal evil. But most importantly also, for those that have looked at Kenya as, because the bad behavior that has been dominant is ethnicity. In any society, obviously must be accepted. There are what we call immediate societal fissures. The crack in society, some is religion. Even if it's a dominant, one religion dominant, then also besides to that. And they can fight and die for that. So there's always a fissure in society. The one that has been dominant for us is ethnicity. We have been shown, we have seen that this is a tribeless movement, a tribeless generation, which probably is a debate we've tried to have as Kenyans in the older generation, saying, when shall we stop with this? And it has killed a lot of debate that is worth advancing ethnic chauvinism. The other day we were hearing 1 shilling, 1 vote, 1 person because we come from a certain place. Another place saying 1 shilling, the distance, and so on and so forth. The point is, at a point in time in this country, and we thought it's going to take 50 years or 100 years to come, people will coalesce on account of issues. Today, we are not demonstrating on what the mountain gets, on what Turkana gets, because of who they are. We are saying, we are discussing economic issues. Aren't we going to the right place? Yes, we are. We are saying the economy is our concern, all of us. Taxes are our concern, all of us. And we are talking to the government, telling the government, we, the people of Kenya, are your bosses. And the government succumbs to that. It waives the debate. It actually succumbs to the debate and waives the life of the finance bill. I think that's a good thing. So we must be constant. We must be persistent. And the last thing for the Gen Zs probably took as a cutaway is that you must pump fear into the leadership. Whatever leadership it is, whether from Chama or whatever level of government, the people in officialdom must fear the citizens and not the other way around. Because it is then that beholden to what then they should do as a good. Because good is contextual. What is good for Kenya may not be good for Uganda or any other place. So we are saying you must discern what is good if you're in leadership. It will come a day when it doesn't matter if Sosion is the president, my good friend here is the president, or whoever is the president. You just need to go there and follow the law. The good shall one day be dominant on account of reducing the difference that we have, which I have said is ethnicity. So once we kill ethnicity, we think that the emergence of the debate on and the dominance of economic issues then becomes the issue. Like, for instance, where are the jobs? No jobs for a certain tribe. Where are the jobs? And we have had that debate the other day. We were saying a certain tribe has gotten all the, or 2 tribes or 3 tribes are getting all the jobs. That's not the debate we're having now. We are saying create jobs for all of us. And therefore, even you sit today as at the exchequer, whatever you are in charge of, whatever you are doing, you will then be thinking of how do we create jobs for the youth constantly, which is very important. You will not be saying how do we fly to US. You'll be saying how do we create jobs. And that, I think that's an introspection we needed to have. But it was not going to be easy. It was going to take the hard way, and this is the hard way that we're experiencing now.
Thank you.
I do think internationally, therefore, and even municipally or domestically, it is something, it's a revolution that is very silent. It didn't have to come in extra violent means. We have seen the extrajudicial means that have been used in some instances. But I think if you look at it holistically, it is a good thing for the country, understand it.
So that is how important this protest is for Kenya.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a break. I'm going to release you because he's going to our sister stations. You can also catch the discussion which is going to be transmitted on the other side of radio. Thank you so much, Wakili.
Asante.
But I'm still remaining with these 3 brilliant brains here. We are going to delve into that. He's just broken the ice. So from there, we are going to pick it. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
kiasi cha muda wowote, kutokwa na jasho kwa wingi usiku, uchungu kwenye kifua, afya kudhoofika, tafuta matibabu.
Las banditas. Just why do you worry so much about me, huh? I was a good friend of your mother's. And your age is about the age of my son. If I had a son.
Amparo, that it's better to just file a divorce case.
Diambolil, why not? You don't know. Maybe you live in another planet. For Christ's sake, when will you break free from these maids and beliefs? Maybe she never will. Atito, what are you trying to prove?
Prove where? I have nothing to prove to you, mushroom head. Will someone fill us in?
You mean Hatat, eh? Right? Then why are you playing it? You think you are stupid?
Put your body self out of this. You have no idea what I'm speaking about. Shut it, you two guavas. I'm trying to concentrate here.
Hey, Kinyanjui, let the dude speak.
Oh, you want him to speak, eh? You want him to speak? He will not speak.
Mimi nina swali moja. Kuna siri gani kati ya familia mzee Dalu na Bicom? Na kama ipo, kwa nini mmeficha?
Mwanamume ni ule naye nyumbani kwako Swahiba. Mchumba huangukia popote.
Usipoteze muda wako.
Tayari muda wangu ushapotea bwana. Wewe niambie hata kama nifanye nini?
Hujui ama ushasahau? Sitaki kusemwa basi.
Sasa kakusema nani tena mke wangu?
Sio waniambia naitwa tasa kwa sababu sizai.
Hapo umevuka mpaka. Maneno gani hayo?
Hata boda nitavuka, kwa nini siri?
Sosion really wanted that break. He's the one who called for a break for coffee. Mwalimu, you have your tea there. You're happy?
Yes, I have my coffee here. I'm now back to my full senses.
You're back.
Yes.
Welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. So we just started. Wakili Kithi broke the ice for us. So let's just get into it. Mwalimu, again, let me ask you, in your own interpretation, how important is this situation we are in right now? And
to me,
as a teacher, what are some of the lessons that we can take home?
It is a milestone.
It's a milestone.
A real milestone. You look at Vision 2030, it talks about Kenya producing the most competitive human resource in the world. It is in these Gen Zs. It talks of our politics being issue-based. The Gen Zs have pioneered because it's a tribeless, it's an homogeneous entity. And as a teacher, I am very, very proud to see the products of our own efforts coming out. And when I look at these Gen Zs, these are the students during my prime time as Secretary General. And so they must have learned a lot of things from the rest of us in terms of agitation. The most exciting thing is that they've come out and they've become a strong voice above the voices that have existed before, and to point out on specific issues, particularly at the economic front. And they're communicating directly to the president, and in an honest way. And we are not going to drop the ball because some opportunists are trying to hijack their demonstration. In fact, Gen Zs don't need to engage in demonstrations anymore. They have been heard by none other than the president. And the president is ready to engage them in any forum, whether physical or whether in the X space, together with his personnel within government. And I want to say one thing, which Kenyans should not forget. The president received a lot of support and votes from the youth of this country in the election, because he made a passionate commitment of creating jobs for for the young Kenyans, both locally and internationally. And that's why we even have a State Department of Diaspora Affairs, because it's about negotiating for opportunities out of the country. But I think now more than ever before, these Gen Zs will engage the president very directly and will engage government, and their views in terms of recovery of the economy will count. It will count a lot. When you see the president withdrawing a finance bill and taking a bold step to listen to these young Kenyans, that is no mean recognition. And I think the Gen Zs should be very proud that they have a president who has listened to them, and he has sacrificed to withdraw a finance bill. That means a gap of 200 billion shillings. And if their views are going to make this country better, so be it. And I've said before, the president believes in empowering the younger generation. And he has been mentoring young leaders. And mentoring a whole generation of Gen Zs, coming out tribeless, completely tribeless, and speaking out on specific issues that makes sense, is a great thing that can happen in this country. And it is only a very unreasonable leader who can ignore them. And I'm happy the passion that the president has taken about it, and all of us within the Kenya Kwanza framework and administration and government, we support the actions of the president towards now engaging the Gen Zs and other Kenyans in a more orderly and civil way, and in a way that is not public relations, but in a way that their views count.
Thank you.
And their views will be implemented. And the president has pronounced himself. I've seen tomorrow he will be on the X space with the Gen Zs. And the president has said, I'm available for them, whether to meet them physically or to engage them in the X space. And it is not for public relations. It is for transforming the country. So I'm telling Gen Zs from this show that now they have the biggest and the greatest opportunity to transform this country by engaging with the president directly and with the government. And their opinions will count. Issues such as corruption and wastage in government have come out very strongly, and the president is clear. He's taken action, and he has pointed out areas where budget cuts will be executed, and therefore the other aspect of completely fighting corruption. I've seen many Kenyans saying, hey, if we reduce corruption, why are we talking about reducing corruption? Why can't we talk about eliminating corruption completely so that we have, our economy is very resilient and very strong? If we eliminated corruption completely, there will be prosperity and plenty for all.
Very well.
And there will be jobs for everyone, both in government
I
and
like the
both
way you're
in the
putting
private
it.
sector.
But as a nation, thank you, Mr. Sossion, but I like it the way you're putting it. Alan, when you look at the entire situation, and we all agree, when you go on the street, no Gen Z, you won't even tell
who is a Gen Z,
who is a Gen Z and who is not, and who is tribe X, tribe Y, because they speak the same language. Their English is good, their communication is okay. You would even pick which dialect is that. They came as a standard protester. Actually, you would even pick.
So we teachers did a good job.
You did a good job.
So maybe to mention is Gen Z is everybody.
So how important is this? That
is very important for us.
As Kenya.
Number one, all the other generation were not able to communicate to the president direct, because there were layers of leaders, bureaucracy. You have to pass through here to get the presidents. But this group decided to go to the streets and say, we must talk to the president himself. So important number one is communication. They are going to get a hearing from the president, like now he's going to speak to them. But what I'm saying from the side of the government, they must be specific, they must speak the truth. If there was a mistake, they must say, we are sorry. And this is what we are going to do. We are going to see so many changes in the government now, because we have to accommodate these people, we have to listen to them. And maybe what I can say to Gen Z, since now the government has given them a hearing, maybe it's time to think about suspending the protest and give dialogue a chance. However, my friend here said we've been having so many dialogues, but I'm thinking this one is direct to the president, and this one is going to be successful. So it's a very important exercise that we're having, and because we're hearing there are goons, there are bad people have come in, it's time. We don't want to lose lives. It's time maybe they look at it and they give tomorrow communication with the president a chance, and let's see what comes from there. Again, the president has committed, and I want to see the protocol on corruption. What are these steps are going to be done? My brother mentioned there's been so many cases on corruption for 2 years. Nothing has ever been done. We don't see people going to jail because of this. We want to see people, their property, taken by government because of corruption. That's the way we are going to start. Example, as I finish. You see somebody vying for member of parliament, and these people, they want to invest over 100 million to get a seat. I mean, the salary of an MP will never be 100 million for 5 years. So it means you will just be stealing from us. So these are some of the things which must be fixed.
Which must be fixed. Crispus, I'm listening to you, all of you, and I must appreciate that your input is quite insightful. But then, Kenya is a strong democracy.
Yeah.
And Kenya is a strong economy, globally speaking. We just had an international podium in the White House the other day. I mean, that is something we cannot take for granted. But how is this protest and what we are seeing currently in the last 3 weeks affecting our influence globally?
Kenya,
even as you also respond to that question of how important is this, the situation we are in right now?
This situation is very important, not just for us, but for the region and for Africa as a continent, because we have demonstrated that there is a young generation out there that countries such as Kenya can rely on in times of desperation. If you go to the social media spaces today, Tanzanians, Ugandans, Nigerians are saying Kenyans are men of courage because they have done something many of us would not have imagined. So therefore there is a sense of hope that has come from Kenya in terms of agitating for the rights of the people. But also we have to appreciate the looting, the riots, the violence is also not good for us, because Kenya also is a beacon of hope in terms of people around the region, Somalia, South Sudan, DRC. They find refuge here, and therefore when Kenya is attempting to fall into anarchy, they get worried. We have a lot of peace forums that are being held in this country to try and foster regional peace. And that may not be able to be possible when in ourselves we are having anarchy in this country. Today, we have over 400 policemen in Haiti trying to deal with a country which is a failed state as a result of being overrun by criminal gangs. Yet here in Nairobi, now we are seeing the emergence of criminal gangs infiltrating. And what will happen now, after the businesses feel threatened, we'll have vigilante groups coming to protect their businesses. And that is a sign of a failed state. We don't want to get there. So it's important that we have already communicated the message that we are not happy. The Gen Zs have already aired not just their views, but everybody's aspirations. It is time for each party now to try and give in. And since there's an opportunity to have a discussion tomorrow, and not just tomorrow, going forward, let us have that conversation going forward. But importantly, as a government and as a people, we must be able to be courageous enough to make some bold decisions. One of these things we need to tell this government and the people of Kenya is that, yes, Kenya Kwanza promised a lot, but not much of it will be delivered on day one. But also, Kenya Kwanza must also demonstrate its commitment towards achieving the short-term goals and the long-term goals. The short-term goals includes things like a good culture in government, a good sense of behavior in how we carry ourselves out. Do we spend what we can afford? Do we spend what we are able to generate as a country? Are we spending more than we can afford? Are we engaging in expensive loans as a country? Are we carrying too much debt that we cannot handle? Is it necessary? Those are things that we can do on day one. If you look at 2003, when Kibaki came in, he made a very bold decision of free education.
Yes.
He did not have the money.
Still enjoying today.
Yes, he did not have the money. He did not have any. But he said, as a country, I made a bold decision to have free education. What is a bold decision this government has done on day one that we can rally with for the next 20 years? Today, the Gen Zs are the product of that free education. Yeah. They were all in class 1 in those days. Today they are the one protesting.
That's a good question.
So we need
what's the president going to do
we need to ask
the next 10, 15 years?
Exactly. We need to ask ourselves, if this product of free education is able to put the government in check, what product will William Ruto produce today that will check the government of
20 years to come?
Yeah.
Yes. Very good
When
question.
I become president, what will
I like that. When you become president,
yes.
I will
what
be a communications
will be the
director.
product of William Ruto in checking me?
I want to be a communications director.
Exactly. So what we are saying, we need to have courageous leaders who make bold decisions. Today we have a fertilizer scandal. We don't even know if we are going to produce enough because we don't know how much of our fertilizer was fake. But we still have a CS who is in office, yet he's tainted with this scandal.
Absolutely.
We still have deals that have gone wrong in government, but people are still in office because we have rule of law and all these things. We need to have a courage to take bold decisions that will instill confidence.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's like.
Okay, so Sion, we hold so many positions and so many tags internationally. Has that changed because of what we're going through?
Pardon?
Our image. What do you think our image is
internationally remains the best? Why? We have a very resolute president, and a president who has understood the geopolitics and economics of the world, and is able to make pragmatic, transformative recommendations. Particularly, if you look at revision of the financial architecture for fairness for Africa, and also for strengthening the Africa continental free trade area, so that then Africa can be able to add value to its own minerals and having a borderless continent. Remember, this is the only president who has abolished visas for all people of the world. Kenya is a now free visa entry country, and this is a very revolutionary president. I appreciate what engineer is raising, that he really wants to see certain things, the legacies of William Ruto 20 years down the line. But I am telling you, you will count one for Kibaki, and you may count not less than 5 for William Ruto. You see, abolishing visa. Right now, all hotels are full all the time, at least 80%. And the tourism sector, I've been there briefly and nominally, is tremendously growing. That is a major service industry that is going to employ so many Kenyans. And Kenya as an economic hub is receiving global attention. We've seen how many presidents have visited the U.S. state visit and engage the government of the U.S. the way President Ruto has done. Those are indicators and involvement globally, and you can see the connection globally, regardless of whether it is east or west. And our international performance is one of the best at the moment. We only need to take advantage. These ideas of Gen Zs could have come in to strengthen if it was not marred by this kind of violence and destruction. That one, we should condemn violence
and like you've come to my notes.
Indeed, destruction.
Did you go through my notes?
When you look at the legacies of the president, abolishing visas, looking at a continent that is so networked economically, value addition of our goods locally here, strengthening the farmers. I agree with you. The criminals who are involved in the distribution chain, like playing with fake fertilizers or disappearance of fertilizers, these corrupt individuals must disappear. And I think the legacy that the president And it is what the Gen Zs are saying. They are telling the president, fight corruption. Yes. Even those of us who are in government, we are telling the president, don't spare anybody. Anybody who is corrupt in Kenya Kwanza administration is not part of our mission. Some of us were in the mission for change. And therefore, no. If you are corrupt and you are implicated in corruption and you are in Kenya Kwanza administration, then you are a stranger. Go. And the president should show them the door. So that we are very clear about it. So if the president can, and he has stated it, he's going to fight corruption, and he said that there are three options. Either you leave Kenya prison or go to heaven for people who are corrupt. When you look at the focus of the president in reviving the sugarcane industry, the pragmatic program, those are legacies. Look at the housing. Look at the digital space. And the great focus that is even using the TVETs to incubate the ICT operations at the grassroots level. Those are grand ambitions. If all of them can be actualized, even to 70-80% within this period of 5 years, then Kenya will remain the most competitive economy, not in Africa, but globally.
But allow me to ask this question. That's the same question, because I asked you, did you go through my notes? Because my question is exactly what you said. The president should take advantage of what we are going through right now to strengthen our democracy, or even our image globally. But that is not for you. Maybe I'll give you a minute later. Let Alan pick. No.
So you see, before you run away,
you picked my notes.
It's still very fresh. So the Gen Z agenda is now an opportunity for the president to stamp his authority.
Kindly, Sosion.
Actually,
and strengthen the transformation of the country.
Mheshimiwa Sosion is the one who has taught the Gen Z in class. So you give us the secret. Now you do that.
So whether he was a good teacher or not,
coming to that is very important. That even you can see the CSS and the president has not made these trips in the last 3 weeks. This is the importance of this Gen Z demonstration. So I think he has gone back to the drawing board to put things in order and see where things were not working. And definitely I'm expecting a change. For me, I'm expecting a change. I know Gen Z have been asking for so many things, or so-and-so to go, so-and-so to go, but I think we are not yet there. The most important and critical thing that we need now is communication from the government. KK is known to speak good things. Future, they are preachers, we will do this, we will do this one, we will put this aside. But very important today, we are looking at facts.
What has been delivered?
What has been delivered? The housing levy, which we are giving. How many houses are there? Who is going to be the beneficiaries? Not the friends, in quotes, you mentioned the friends. We want to see Mama Mboga getting a house, making sure, she's comfortable, she can feed the family. We want to see these jobs come up. The president has done over 60 trips to other countries. We want to see records. Okay, where did we go to Finland, for example? What did we gain there? And what are the timelines? Who is following up this? So that Kenyans can see, really, these trips are working. Now, you talked about the international, face of Kenya. I think we have gone 3 steps back, because the other day I saw, a certain parliament in one of the African countries saying, if we don't pass correct, laws in the government, then we'll be beaten by citizens like Kenya. So definitely that is not good for our country. So what I'm looking at is, going forward, let us be factual. We cannot keep on campaigning. We cannot keep on preaching, good things that will be done. Let's first say, this is what we have delivered.
Okay. When you look at that, again, engineer, based on what you're also going to answer the same question. So how can the president also take advantage, of the situation, perhaps to strengthen the democracy that we are enjoying right now, the space of freedom? Article 37 is open to all of us, that people are enjoying right now. Power belongs to the people, Article 1 and all that. But how can the president now ride on what is happening today and come out of it even stronger? But most importantly, Kenya to come out of this stronger, regionally and globally?
One of the things that has been tested from these protests is the fact that institutions are not independent. And one institution that have proved not independent is Parliament. Because from the words of the Deputy President, he said the MPs were told to toe the party line in terms of supporting the finance bill. Therefore, there seems to be an extension of the executive influence over Parliament. Yet Parliament's responsibility is to oversight. Oversight means whatever the executive proposes, we should be able to check, say yes or no, or make some amendments here and there. And therefore, for Kenyans not to have been heard by their representatives, it is a sign that the democracy that we celebrate as Kenya is a mirage, because we elect people in a free and fair election, send them to represent us, but when they go to Parliament or to the county assemblies or Senate, they don't appear to represent us. They either represent themselves or the executive or the party. And therefore, we need to ask ourselves, out of this conversation that we are having here, what kind of democracy are we going to build on? So that if I am elected with UDA and my people don't agree with the position of UDA, should I disagree with UDA or should I agree with my people? Those are very important issues we need to interrogate, so that when members of Parliament go to vote or make decisions in the House of Parliament, they are able to have that independence to make an independent decision based on the people they represent.
Yes.
If, for example, a majority had said no to this bill, if the majority could have listened to the views of Kenyans, we would not have been here. Kenyans would not have gone to demonstrate, would not have lost the lives that we have lost, would not lost the properties we have lost. But the fact that our democracy was infiltrated also by the influence of the executive or the party that the majority party or the majority coalition is an organization which is run by an individual, not the people, is a sign that our democracy still requires some areas of improvement, and that's very important for us.
That's very important.
Yeah.
I only have 2 minutes to wrap it up. So, Sion, moving forward.
When you talk about parliamentary democracy, and is what Kenyans should understand.
And this is going to be your closing remark, kindly.
Yes, parliamentary democracy. There is what we call, there are moments of collective responsibility, because all members of parliament are sponsored by a political party, unless you are independent. When you are independent, you can exercise that independence. But there are moments when you must conform to the collective position of the party, whether that party is in power or is in the opposition.
Yes.
So it's not a new thing, and we have seen ODM threatening to recall those members who did not comply, because you sit in parliament sponsored by a political party, and so in as much as you are bound by the wishes of your people, you're also bound by the sponsoring political party. But even in our parliament, that does not really strictly apply. Our members of parliament can vote freely and independently. And therefore, this lynching of parliamentarians, those who voted for and against, is anti-democracy. Let us allow democracy to thrive.
Yeah.
In fact, with the emergence of Gen Zs, it is strengthening the provisions of Article 1 of the Constitution, the sovereign power of the people, and Article 10 of the people, public participation in public affairs, more than ever before. And I don't think in many jurisdictions that have gone through, that have gone to that practice democracy, Kenyan democracy is so open. Many countries in Africa, citizens don't participate in budget making. But look here in Kenya, we are not only discussing the budget, the appropriation bill, we are also discussing the finance bill, that is the revenue collection. And the citizens can actually stop a bill using their power, which is good for democracy. And that is not a negative image. It is progress.
Okay.
If people can exercise their sovereign power and can tell the president in authority that please resign this bill, and the president can listen and withdraw the bill, it's a good thing. And once the president has withdrawn the bill, it opens a chapter of further conversations. And I can tell you, the next finance bill will be well thought out, well supported, meticulously understood. So we might even come up with a stronger finance bill
we have
that is going to, Yes.
Meaning we've learned a lesson.
Yeah, we learn lessons in democracy.
Thank you so much.
And every day is a learning moment.
Thank you so much.
And every minute is a learning moment for everyone.
You're a teacher. That's why we have to finish at that point. That every day is a learning lesson.
Yes.
We are in class.
Yeah, indeed.
You need to go back to class.
Learning goes on until the last day of your life.
Wilson, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Former NAT Secretary General and former nominated Member of Parliament, as well as he's a teacher. So we've been in class without school fees. But tutakuona hapo kama
free education. We give out now, free.
Asante. Alan, asante sana for coming. Yes, Alan is also a development governance and policy expert, as well as Crispus Wathimba, who is also a governance expert as well. Thank you so much. And George Kithi, asante sana for coming to the show on your behalf. I want to leave you with a quote. Peace cannot exist without justice. Justice cannot exist without fairness. And fairness cannot also exist without development. Development cannot exist without democracy. And democracy cannot exist without respect for the identity and worth of cultures and people. I'm Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Kikohozi cha muda wowote, kutokwa na jasho kwa wingi usiku, uchungu kwenye kifua, afya kudhoofika, tafuta matibabu. Labda ni TB ni ugonjwa wa kweli. Ukipimwa matibabu yapo utapona. Daktari kushauri tumia dawa kwa nidhamu. Elimu tupashane tupige vita TB. Mwa TB waishi poa.
Work with what you have and improve on it. Who now, use what you have and do it.
Thank you for staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and as I had promised you earlier on while we were beginning the program, I had mentioned that we were going to be having a conversation on giving a second chance to school dropouts, and that is what we are about to do right this very moment. I am joined in studio by Professor Lombo Simba. He is the author of the Adult Education in Kenya, Second Chance for School Dropouts book, which I have with me right here. We'll look at it later on. And then I'm also joined by Salome Terra, and she is the County Director, Adult and Continuing Education. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. Now, if we may just begin with you telling us what exactly adult learning is. When we talk about adult learning, what are we talking about, Prof?
Okay, adult learning is broad.
is defined as anybody going to school after 21. That's an adult. And therefore, that person cannot be treated like a kid, the way we treat young people. So we encourage anybody who is in charge or teaching adults to be aware that you are not just teaching kids. So adult learning is going to school after 21. I would define it that way. I don't know whether my colleague would add to that.
Yes, feel free.
To me, adult learning is lifelong learning. In life, there is no time you can say you've learned everything. So every time, every moment is a learning moment. So anybody who is 18 years and above, that is adult learning.
Yeah.
But coming to the other side also, there is the component of adult education. And adult education is different from adult learning. I don't know if you'd like me to delve into adult education.
Yes, please, because I actually had a question on the difference between adult learning and adult literacy.
Okay.
Adult literacy is just one package of adult education. Adult education is a full-fledged directorate in the Ministry of Education, which offers various packages to adult learners. And when we talk about adults, we are talking about learners who are 18 years and above and did not get a chance to go through the formal school, or they dropped out of school. And also, in our contest, the Kenyan culture, there are some problems or challenges faced by communities, and it declares one to become an adult depending on the responsibilities given. So when you talk about adult education, we are talking about one package is providing the 3 R's, that's reading, writing, and numeracy, where this adult has never been to class, just needs basic skills to operate. After that, we have the post-literacy, where we are now enhancing the skills acquired at first level of basic literacy. And then after that, we have the continuing education. The continuing education package now deals with having these learners getting into class, and they're using the formal school curriculum, where they are provided with in the past it has been KCP, so KCP now is over. Then from KCP, after you do your KCP, you now follow the formal channel and do up to Form 4 and proceed.
Yeah.
Now that is what we are offering in Kenya as adult education. And then to it also there is the community empowerment program, where you get things like agriculture, health, civics education, all manner of education, what an adult requires to learn for the purpose of managing their life. That is now community empowerment package.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there's something I'm sure most of us have heard of, that is Gumbaru.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still defining adult literacy and adult education.
Yeah.
So we used to have a word, there's a word which is Gumbaru.
Yes, Gumbaru.
And going to adult literacy, what is literacy? Literacy is the basics. It is not only learning. I have a granddaughter, and I'm teaching her financial literacy. And my wife is learning digital literacy. So if one does not know how to use computers, you need the basics of computers. If you don't know how to read the way Madam Salome said, then you need basics of reading. Now, when adult education or adult literacy was introduced, it was given the name Gumbaru.
Yeah.
And Gumbaru became demonized. That anybody who is going to school, to an adult school, then that person is doing Gumbaru education. Of course, it was supposed, literacy was supposed to be maybe up to standard 3, and then after that, one gets into the main education stream, whereby they would be preparing in the old system for KCPE. Yep.
Maybe just to add on that, that reminds me, under our community empowerment, we have multiple literacies. Right now, majority of Kenyans are illiterate about CBC. So they need to be taught how to go about CBC. Majority of Kenyans don't know how to use even their mobile phones. It's just something to do with receiving money and making calls. Yet there's a lot that you can do on that mobile phone. So under the component of multiple literacies, now we have a digital literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, all manner of education. Yeah.
Okay. We now have gotten, you know, to understand, you know, what exactly we talk about when you're talking about adult learning, which was very important for this conversation because that is where our base is on. So what is the importance of adult learning? Why are we pushing so much for it?
I would say, first and foremost, education is a human right. And there is no way you'll operate in the current world if you are not having basic skills on how to go about. True. If you are unable to even administer drugs to your baby, that you do, once the doctor writes 2 times 1, it means you give this child 2 tablets or 2 teaspoonfuls, if it's indicated, if it's liquid, once a day. But you find if somebody doesn't have just that common basic common knowledge that it's 2 times, you'll find that it's given 2 and again 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. So you've done something wrong. So there are many other things. For example, we are now getting into money matters. Financial literacy. Adult education is important, even for civics. Civic education. How do we vote? How do we go about our life? There are many policies. We are talking about the country has a constitution that allows us to have public participation. These people have to participate and make informed decisions about their lives, need a certain level of education. This policy that is being brought on the ground, can we question it? Is it going to be beneficial to us? How are we supposed to help the government attain what it wants to attain? Goal? The SDG goal 4.4. So adult education is very important because we are the wealth creators and the wealth we are the ones who are the custodians of the wealth. If we don't have that adult education, then we are going to let the country go into drains. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may just give a bit of statistics. Now, research rather shows that 1/3 of secondary school learners do not complete their secondary school education. You know, and according to a report by UNESCO, close to 35% of Kenyan secondary school students will not complete secondary education by the year 2030. 35% is a huge number. What maybe could be the reasons and, you know, factors that contribute to us having such a huge number of school dropouts, and not just school dropouts, but secondary school dropouts in general?
Yeah, there are many reasons. Some could be even cultural. Cultural in the sense that some young girls are being given into marriage when they are still in school. Others could be poverty, and that's a major contributing factor in school dropout. And then the other one would be just a kid does not get enough motivation to go to school from the family, or discouragement from school, and the reasons could be just so many. In other places where there is mining, kids think that they can get into mining business or do some business and make quick money, only later to realize that it is not possible, and then they realize they may want to go back to school, but the chance closed when they left school. So the reasons are many.
Yeah. Madam Salome, maybe according to you, where do you think we're going wrong as a country to have such, you know, such a huge number of secondary school dropouts?
Before I even belabor to answer that, 1/3 not completing. Those ones who are in the system. What about those who dropped out before they even joined the system? They joined and dropped out along the way. We're talking about 35% right now, will not complete by 2030. Can we go back to that cohort that started class 1? How many reached that level of high school? How many dropped out? All those ones are outside there.
Oh, yeah,
they are clients
for this
of adult
third,
education.
they've accounted for the ones who started Form 1 but did not get to finish
Yes,
Form 4.
but there are those who started class 1 and never made it to secondary. Where are they? Now, we are asking ourselves what went wrong. There are very many ills that developing countries are going through. Poverty being one of them, culture, disease. The three enemies we identified at independence are still with us. We have never solved them. And as long as we have not solved them, they'll still come and ail us. And those enemies are the ones that are putting our children into very serious disparate situations. Now we have peer pressure, drug and alcohol abuse, the ills in the internet where they're trying to dub the Western world. All those are bringing problems to these children, to the youth, and they are dropping out. And there is no education system in the world that does not have dropouts. Even at university level in Kenya, we have dropouts.
Yeah, sure.
And it's tied to very many factors, be it peer pressure, be it poverty, be it health issues, be it there are so many ills ailing the African societies. Yeah.
Before we get into the conversation of how we sort these dropouts out, maybe what should be done to reduce this number of dropouts?
Asked about what should be done, first and foremost, our education system is very rigid. To the point that today, if I went to school, for example, I'm supposed to be in class by 8, so I should be in school. Let us take a village school. I should be in school by around 7 something to around 7:30. I should be in that school. Nobody bothers where I come from, what I am going through, but they expect me to be in school. So when I arrive late, I'm beaten. If you beat me 2 or 3 times, what makes you think I'll come tomorrow? I'll not be able to come tomorrow. So those are some of the things that we need to look into. And we need to look into so keenly. What is it with the education system? And then I try and make a point, and I go back to school, and maybe I've repeated. If I repeat one class, I'm laughed at. If I'm in that school because my parents took me to school at a later age, I'm beyond the age. Ninaitwa mama wa shule. Are you seeing the things I'm grappling with? And those are the realities that we need to, let us not hide ourselves. Those are realities that we are facing. And I think we have to look at various factors to solve these problems. Yeah, because they are here with us.
Yeah. Okay, now those who are out here with us in the community, they didn't get to finish their secondary school education because of all the reasons that Prof. you've mentioned, and Salome as well. I want to give a scenario of there's this young girl, she's in Form 2, brilliant mind, you know, is in a national school actually, but gets pregnant, you know, and then she leaves school, of course, to go give birth, and then does not go back to school. So what happens to this girl afterwards? Because this is now where you're coming in, because you're talking about a second chance.
Yes, that's where we're coming in. The education system in Kenya has been very rigid, and it has been one-way focus. We don't look at the ones who fall by the wayside. We tell them, pole sana, sisi tunaendelea. And you see that in the Ministry of Education, the adult education department is just kind of put at a corner, and really nobody talks much about it. So this girl may want to go back to school, but where does she go back to school? She looks at the situation and she wants to go back to her nearby secondary school. At this time, she has 2 children. Our education system is so interesting that our education planners can allow a mama to sit in a classroom with young kids, and they expect that mama to learn. I would have a big problem with that, because this mama knows more than these kids. They are not their peers. They cannot play together. And I think we can even bring the interesting example of this Maruge. A 3-year-old man who wanted to go back to school. And the system, our education system, has no way for such a man to go back to school apart from telling him, okay, go to standard 1.
Yeah, go join those
kids. Yeah. And really, I would challenge the education planners and say it is wrong. It is not right for you to put an older person in the class. I'll give you an example. There are methods of teaching kids. Yeah. When I trained as a teacher, I learned that you use teaching methods according to the ages of the children. Suppose I want to teach numbers. Because out there in the village, we were drawing on the ground. We call it on the dirt in America. You draw a big square, and in that square, you put other 10 squares inside. And then you write number 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. And then what you are doing is, these are standard 1 kids. They want to play and learn. Yep. The methods of teaching standard 1 kids is, okay, can you jump to number 6? And the kid jumps to where the square of number 6. Can you jump to number 4? Then the square number 4. What about when you tell an older man?
You cannot use that same method.
No, because that's to the kids, that is play.
Yeah.
To the older person, huu ni utoto.
Exactly. A better word.
Yes.
Yeah, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
It's true, yeah. One thing I would observe is the ministry has tried to come up with it has a policy on re-entry where it's taking care of those who have dropped out to get back to school. So far, they're using the policy, but we know when something is new, it has its challenges. Yes, we may enforce and say from where we are seated in the office, make sure these children get back to school, make sure this and this is done. I want to look at somebody who dropped out of high school later. He talked of a girl. I also love the boy child, who is always left out. The boy child decided to do drugs and dropped out. And now you want this boy child re-entered in school. You know that it needs treatment. So this boy, when he is using this re-entry policy back to school, the teachers may not be able to handle this. Looking at the age of that boy, what are we talking about? And then there is the naming system. The naming system is a number. It gives a student a number, and this number allows this student to go through the education system, let's say from level 1 up to the final level. If this boy is coming back after that, the cohort that had that level have left, what are we talking about? Are you not seeing there's still some hiccups? I know as policy makers look into it, there are challenges that they are facing, and it's the teachers who should bring these challenges out so that we see how to address this problem effectively. And when we are saying that this person has re-entered school, that they are getting that conducive environment to learn. Something I cannot talk about because I'm not in the formal school. I can only talk about those who have come back to adult education as adult continuing education. And something maybe we'll have, if I'm given permission, I can tell you, for real, it's a big challenge. They are coming back. They dropped out because of problems, but they are coming back using the same facilities of the primary school, sometimes even the ECD classes, which are not conducive for them. They are being told to pay school fees, following the same curriculum, which is so rigorous for them. Now there is no more KCP. I don't know what is going to happen to them that never did KCP. We are still waiting to get a directive. What do we do? Like on my table, I have so many questions. We have these learners, they did not take KCP, but they were in our classes. What are we supposed to do with them? I don't have anything I can tell them because I've not been told what should I do with these learners. Do we have any assessment for them? I don't have. And then you look at the ones who are coming in at secondary level. Yes, we are taking them through the 844 curriculum right now, the high school curriculum. But we are asking ourselves, after 2027, what will happen to those others who will be coming in? Thank you.
Right. And on that note, we'll take a short break, but don't you go too far. We'll be back in a bit to continue with this conversation.
Kikohozi cha muda wowote, kutokwa na jasho kwa wingi usiku, uchungu kwenye kifua, afya kudhoofika, tafuta matibabu.
Hivi ndivyo tunafaa kuwa, ni wenye kufikiria na kuchukua mafundisho kutoka kwa Bwana Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ya kwamba baya lolote utakalokwenda kulifanya litakuja kufanywa kwako wewe, litakuja kufanywa katika mlango wako.
Swali moja. Kuna siri gani kati ya familia ya mzee Dalu na Bicom? Na kama ipo, kwa nini mmeficha?
Mwanamume ni ule ule naye nyumbani kwako Swahiba. Mchumba huangukia popote.
Usipoteze muda wako.
Tayari muda wangu ushapotea bwana. Wewe niambie hata kama nifanye nini?
Hujui ama ushasahau? Sitaki kusemwa basi.
Sasa kakusema nani tena mke wangu?
Sio waniambia naitwa tasa kwa sababu sizai.
Hapo umevuka mpaka. Maneno gani hayo?
Hata boda nitavuka, kwa nini siri?
Adults who want to go back to school, and for example, they had not done their KCPE exams, they had not done their KCSE exams. So do you mean to say that there are no institutions at all who can accommodate such? Do you mean to say that there are no systems put in place for that at the moment in the country?
According to my research, and I did a very comprehensive research on second chance for school dropouts in Kenya, I found that the systems were not there. It's only people's initiative that are trying to put somebody, operate a school, and they're calling it adult education or adult education school, but using
it's actually,
the book is a second chance for school dropouts. It's part of my research. And they use that, the schools, to teach the curriculum for kids, I mean the high school or primary school. And there's a big difference, as I mentioned earlier, that there's a difference between teaching an adult and teaching a kid, a young person. So I would say there has been no real system which has a good pathway to have people who drop out of school could come back and go to school. And this has happened for many years. During my time, I trained as a primary school teacher, a P1, and they told me if I want to go to university, I have to go back and do the Form 6 exam, and they disregarded my 2-year training as a school teacher. I have to go and take Form 6 exam and then qualify to go to university. That is not right. So what I do, I had to look for system or other places which have good systems which can allow somebody like me to go back to school. And I had to use American system who opened the door for me to do my bachelor's. And then from that, I was able to go ahead and do the other studies. Just while we are there, my wife, and I have her permission, because she allowed me to put it in this book. Okay. So if it's in this book, it is public knowledge. My wife dropped out of, from school in Form 2. That's far, isn't it? So how would such a person get a second chance? Fortunately, those days they were training nurses and they were looking for anybody who has been to high school. They don't care whether you're finished or high school or not, completed. So although she had failed in Form 2, they put her into a nursing school, and she became a nurse. Then she realized that she could go for a counseling course, a diploma, 2 years. But interestingly, a university, I'm not going to name them, I don't want to shame any university, and it's not them. When she wanted to go back to study a degree, to do a degree, they said, no, where's your Form 4 certificate? Now, look at this. Somebody has gotten a diploma, and we know what a diploma is in this country, and from a university. If I get a diploma from University of Nairobi, then it means it is credible, isn't it?
Yeah,
but they say, no, we want your Form 4 certificate. And I told my wife, okay, you're going to beat them in their own game. And what did I do? I wrote a letter asking them, which is higher, your Form 4 certificate or your diploma, which you have given to me? That was my wife writing. Then I wrote that and I gave her to sign. She signed, and of course it was challenging them. The registrar called her, and she went and did a course, a BA in psychology, completed with good grades, 3.4. Then, now, she's gotten into education stream. So we go to America, and in December last year, she graduated with a master's in clinical social work. Not many people are going to have those chances. Majority of them are going to be on the or to fall on the wayside.
Yeah, and oftentimes in the country, unfortunately, Form 4 or secondary school dropouts are seen as failures.
Yes.
But from the story you've just told, if given a chance, they can still amount to, something, and people who would be of help to the community as well. Maybe to you, Salome, as the County Director for Adult and Continuing Education in the country, how are we aligning these adult learners, to gain access to vocational training institutions or even higher learning education in general?
Just to observe, necessity is the mother of invention. When you're faced with challenges, you try to knock this door and you're being told for you to enter, you must have this type of key. You have to look for a way. So in adult education, somewhere in the late 99 to around 2000, we began the issue of offering primary education to our adult learners, because some of them were watchmen and they're being told, for you to work with us, we need to see your KCP certificate. So we started offering continuing education at primary level for these people, and we had various have gone through that until they closed KCP last year. People managed to go through that, and when an adult was able to go through the formal school, maybe 2-3 years, and do KCP, it motivated them now to go for the secondary, where we have now the continuing education secondary, which is still ongoing. In the continuing education secondary, like in Nairobi, we have private and public. For the public, I have 13 teachers in the whole of Nairobi County. We have an adult public secondary at Pangani Primary School. They're using the primary school facilities that have been, that are dilapidated. We are always given those facilities that are dilapidated. And if we happen to get a better facility in any primary school, we are told to pay rent. So these adult learners pay a little money, they are charged some fees. And you see, like that center only has 6 teachers. There are very many centers of that type in this county. We have one in Makadara, Our Lady of Visitation, which has only 3 teachers, and the 3 teachers are not able to handle all the subject areas. So it means we have to bring on board other teachers. In the whole country, we have only 100 who are employed by the government. And therefore, private providers are coming in. Go to Eastleigh, there is very good work going on. We have various other youths and others learning secondary. Go to Starehe, just in town here, we have private providers who have these centers providing tuition and evening classes to these adult learners who are either working or they have been told you cannot get a promotion unless you have this level of certificate. So, but we are using the formal system. They are doing the same KCSE, they register the same way the secondary school students. So we can't really say that it's our system, but we had to come up with a way, because earlier on we had worked on a curriculum with the KICD, ABET 1. ABET 1 is up to, let's say, level 4. Then ABET 2 is from level 4 to around class 8, class 6. Then ABET 3 was from level, it was catering for 7 and 8. And from that level now, NEC was supposed to have these exams or assessments for these learners. It never took up. It never took off.
That curriculum?
I mean, it never took off. There are only a few copies. You only deal with ABET 1 is what we are delivering. Meaning something somewhere. You know, even our directorate has been moving from one ministry to the other until 2008 when we were taken to the Ministry of Education. But now we have not been accorded that proper a curriculum to be followed. So even our curriculum now is outdated. It's over 10 years. And you know, the cycle of a curriculum is 10 years. It should have been reviewed. So we are still now, our curriculum is that of ABET 1. This ABET 2 and ABET 3 was never piloted. It was never tested. We even had the post-literacy curriculum, which is supposed to cater for these ones after they have learned the 3 R's. It was piloted in very few sub-counties. It was a project by GT said it ended there. It never took off, and the curriculum is there. It needs a review. So you can see we don't have our own clear pathway. Even in the CBC, we have now been put in the structure, but we don't even have that clear curriculum. But we are believing the review that will be coming, we need to get what should be done. We need to get things right. If we don't get things right,
Prof, you seem to have something.
Yes, I'm looking at where we are, and there are many people we are losing on the way in our education system. And we're saying it cannot just be pushed at the corner. So, when I was doing my research on second chance, I found that every country, and I did a global survey of what happens in South Africa, in UK, in Switzerland, in Korea. I did a whole survey and found that there's always a policy on how one can go back to school. So we are looking at a situation whereby we can delink adult learners from the normal, regular primary and secondary education and have something different. So I'm saying I have a way. During my studies, I saw that there could be a way, and I would be happy to share with the ministry, and I'm glad that Madam Salome is here. I would be happy to say this is a way to help our people. That's why I did all this research, because a lot of people are just being left, and we tell them that they cannot make it, they are losers, but they can be directed and become useful members of the society.
I agree with you. Maybe Madam Salome, what is hindering us from having such programs in the country?
You know, everything in this country starts at the policy level. What does this policy spell out? If you look at our policy in adult education, it was done in 2010. How many years down the line?
14.
It has been overtaken by events. It needs a review. And I'm glad he says he has a way.
Has a solution.
If you have a solution, Professor, I would love us, because I love those people who come up and say, I have a solution, not to keep asking me, this is the problem, how do we solve it? And I wouldn't mind. I'm even aware the president likes people who come, we have identified this is the problem and this is the solution. So if this gentleman is brought on board, when we'll be carrying out the review of the curriculum and that, we would love to have a solution to this menace that has existed since 1979 when we were decreed, because the type of illiterates I'm dealing with, they're not the ones that were identified as independent, meaning there's some gap the policy that has not addressed. So if that is addressed, and we have, because in adult education the policy says it's a shared responsibility. If we could have like minds like him plus others who are outside there to come and help us walk this path and solve this problem once and for all, then I'll be happy. But I believe our problem comes at policy, funding, and once those two are not handled, then we are not able, because looking at our statistics, we are not doing well. In 1979, when we started, we had 3,000 full-time instructors. We don't call them teachers, because in adult education you cannot teach an adult. You only facilitate this person to acquire more knowledge and move on. Right now we are doing very bad. We have 864 in the whole country, and as I'm talking, even maybe some have retired between last month and now. The figures may be very low, and out of the 864, 100 are those teachers who, just formal school teachers who are handling the continuing education program. So if they are still using, they are not CBC teachers, they have not been retooled, they are using the old system method. So what does that tell you? Looking even at the officers, we have remained very few. So there is a lot that needs to be done. And if we can handle this problem once and for all, and just say within 10 years, we should have seen the results within maybe the next 3 years, if we review and start, let's say, next year, let them measure our achievements year by year, and we should tell them in the next 5 years we should be here, and in the next 10 years this problem of having re-entry and or having this problem of dropouts in this country should be a history. Because I was looking at his book yesterday night when I interacted with it. What is happening in Britain is beautiful. What is happening in Korea is beautiful. Why is it that we are being left out? And when, like now in the CBC, we don't have the structure is there, but we haven't started implementing. Sisi tumekaa huko adult, tumekaa kwa bench naendelea na basic literacy, and that is not what our learners want. They are going ahead. When they reach the end is when they start coming for us. What will have happened to these dropouts on the way? Because they have dropouts who are coming this side. So the faster we do it, the better.
Yeah, and while on that, the problem is also the methodology. I think we need to mention that. When teachers go to school, they are taught to teach young children. There's a word which is called pedagogy. Pedagogy is a word from pediatrics. It's a word which means teaching children. And Vivian, maybe you have gone to school, even in college or a university, and you have seen a professor or a lecturer treating you like a kid. I don't know whether that has been your experience. It was my experience. Because the training we have in this country, it trains teachers only up to teach secondary schools, and those are children, and therefore they use pedagogy. Now, when you're teaching adults, you're teaching a different person, and the word for it is andragogy. Andragogy means that these are adults who come to your class by choice. They are not there because you push them.
Yeah.
They are there by choice, and we don't even need to motivate them because they are self-directed. Therefore, even the instructors we are having in these learning centers, they have not been trained to teach adults. And therefore, instead of us getting good results, some of them realize, oh, when I was doing my research, I sat in a classroom, some of those classrooms, and a teacher found student was having a phone. You don't know what is happening with this student. Maybe her kid is sick, and stand up so-and-so, walk out, go out, you know.
You can't treat them the same way
No,
you treat the
no,
young
you don't.
learners.
Yeah, but that's just some of the problems we are having, and we're saying when we delink adult education from the main high school, primary and high school system, then we can come up with training. And even in this book, I've given examples of how to teach such people.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you may allow me to allow you to give your final remarks in the shortest of words possible.
Thank you very much. One thing I would like to observe, it is true, we have to accept where we have failed. And my desire is that let us do things straight. History will judge us. Let us have a system or a mechanism in place or a pathway to cater for the dropouts, because if we don't, there are so many, there are even more than the learned. Because dropping out even if you drop out at university and you've not finished, in future when you reach a point and you cannot do 1, 2, 3, you're still a dropout. If we can address this wholesomely during this review and during this time we are having educational system being changed, then we shall be doing justice. We need to bring everybody on board and even have the feel of the very affected, the dropouts, to tell us how they want us to go about it. And if that is done, then justice will be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam
Yes.
Solomon.
Mine is just to talk to the policymakers in this country. It is good to be holistic and address all the different sectors we have in education. And therefore, it means that once the policymakers look at school dropouts and ask themselves, how can we mitigate for this without trying to patch? What we have been doing is patching the problem. We need to have a proper overhaul, a departure, whereby we don't have to keep on changing even when the school systems change. When I was doing my research, I realized that some countries, they put their adult or second chance for their school dropouts in one place, and although the curriculum in the other systems are changing, this continues because it has been linked. There could be some adjustments on the curriculum, but what I'm saying is, yes, let's have a policy which addresses adult learners or gives people a second chance after they drop out of school. Okay. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Madam Salome. Thank you so much, Professor Lombo, for gracing our show today. We really appreciate that you are big on this conversation. Now, this is where we call it a wrap. And if I may just say what I've picked from this conversation, no one should be written off. Everyone deserves a second chance. And this may simply mean a second chance at education to allow you to have that second chance at life. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Until next time, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
John Cheruyot's education journey ended after completing his A-level examination at Kakamega High School in 1971, where he was a loyal member of the Christian Union. His journey in politics would begin when the late Ezekiel Baringetuni, the then Nandi kingpin, would recommend him to replace the then National Assembly Speaker Samuel Arap Ngeni, who appeared to have had a fallout with the government. Cheruyot had an added advantage as he was the son of Ezekiel Birek, the